Hi everyone, good Friday afternoon and welcome to GoLocal Live. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for starting off your almost start to the weekend with us here in downtown Providence. We'd like to welcome in Mike Stenhouse, President and CEO of the Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be back.
It's a busy week and of course dominating regional and national news. The Transportation Climate Initiative released its Memorandum of Understanding draft this week now to address motor gasoline and on-road diesel surcharges to address the issue of carbon emissions. Now, this is something the center has been outspoken about for weeks now, knowing this is coming. Again, a consortium of New England and Mid-Atlantic states saying this is where a lion's share of carbon emissions come from. And again, this draft agreement drawn up has a comment period, and it seems like the center and a lot of folks have a lot to say.
Well, so first let me say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I say that just to make a little clever line that the greeny Grinches have a plan to put a big lump of coal in your Christmas stocking this year in the form of a new gas tax under this Transportation and Climate Initiative. The theory being, and they openly admit this, they want to make gasoline so expensive that you'll be forced to use less of it. All right, now, just think about that. In fact, in a presentation in Rhode Island, they said we eventually want to make gasoline go away. Okay, so I want you to think about that this is what certain government officials and certain environmental radicals want to do. They want gasoline, cars, and trucks to go away, and they want to force you to use less of it. They want to make it a sin for you to drive your kids to work, for you to drive your kids to school. That would be good. How do I get my kids to work? Drive to work, go shopping, visit family, deliver goods and services, use it for tractors or whatever vehicles you use. They want to make that a sin because this money isn't going to rebuild infrastructure like normal gas taxes are. This tax would be used to advance a green agenda and other green projects throughout the state, not the bridges and roads that we all drive on. So our economy, Kate, we don't think can afford this. There's a few other things that we'll mention here in a minute, but that's basically what it is. It's a cap and trade carbon tax system. Our state is already in one of those systems called the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative that is artificially already raising your electricity costs throughout the state. Now they want to do the same thing with gasoline, and we say, bah humbug to that.
So let's talk a little bit about the goal, as you said, from that vantage point, eliminating gasoline. Of course, there's a lot of talk these days about alternative energy sources to have a lower impact on the climate. You mentioned that in this TCI report, because that's my next question to you, if this is not the desirable approach to say, how do we maintain an environmentally sustainable world? You pointed out in that report, they said that carbon emissions, by lieu of things being taken care of right now,
Yep.
Have already been showing some signs of progress.
2 points to make there. We already know, for instance, at the international level, for all the criticism President Trump got for not joining the Paris Climate Accord, which is kind of a bigger TCI, if you would, the United States is leading the world in carbon emission reductions, just through technology, just through some of the moderate and acceptable regulations we have on vehicle mileage and whatnot. And so in this report, they project themselves that even without TCI, without this new TCI gas tax, that carbon emissions in America will go down by 19% and in this region. They hope that by raising gas prices 15, 17, maybe probably a lot more over time, 24, 30 cents a gallon, that they could add another 5 to 6% to that. And you know what the regional cost would be? $56 billion is projected for the 12 states that they want to get into the RGGI Compact.
And you say cost.
That's how much extra they will be charging gasoline distributors in order to have the right to distribute gas. Now, that's the first point. They're already saying that without TCI, emissions are going to go down by almost 20%. TCI will only add another 5% of that. So when you look at that, and we've got another think tank, believe it or not, in Texas, who really understands the UN's model, the model they use. It shows up 0.000 and then a couple of ones and twos after that as far as how much of an impact TCI will have on global temperatures. it doesn't even register because it only goes out 3 decimal points. So $56 billion, 20, 30 cents a gallon on you, and it will do nothing. There's no environmental benefit. The governor is saying, oh, we have to save the planet. It's not going to save anything. All it's going to do is take money out of your pocketbook to fund other green projects that she can use politically and the General Assembly can use politically to gain favor. It's a bad deal across the board.
And let's talk a little bit about that 17 cents a gallon number. Now, as pointed out, you said this is a sin tax, if you will. Looking to, in an ideal world, I'm assuming, change behaviors, if you will. But let's, if folks can't change behaviors, if they have a finite schedule of going to school and doing what they need to do, I'm not saying most folks are on a fixed income, but most folks have a budget, of course. And if that eats up a bigger part of their budget, then expendable income for folks will go down.
They have to cut food, they have to cut gifts, vacations, something else, because gasoline is what we call an inelastic product. You still have to drive to work, you still have to go shopping, you still have to take your kids to school. You can't really cut back your driving that much. So if you're paying more, you still have to drive that. And you're right, it's going to have to come out of some other part of your budget. What makes this all the more distasteful to us is the process set up here. You guys remember us talking about Roadmap Rhode Island many, many years, and this is what we warned about all those years ago, this sustainable development push. We're creating with TCI, and we already have it with Reggie, these shadow governments, right, of unelected bureaucrats. They're not elected by anybody. You didn't elect them for sure, who were then put in charge. The state would theoretically give control, taxing authority to these unelected bureaucrats out of Georgetown University to decide how much your gas is going to cost and how much tax they're going to levy on it and what should happen to that money. If Rhode Island wants the gas tax, Rhode Island lawmakers should do it, not give that authority away to some shadow government in another state. And so this is what we warned about with Roadmap Rhode Island, and now it's happening right here.
And what do you say to those folks that say, Mike Stenhouse is anti-environment, Mike Stenhouse is anti-climate change, Mike Stenhouse is on the wrong track on this?
Mike Stenhouse just cited that the United States is leading the world in carbon reductions without oppressive programs like these. We're for a clean environment, but we also have to consider a cost versus benefit analysis. What's the return on investment? Again, I just told you, the UN model itself says zero environmental benefit for $56 billion of cost. Rhode Island will have its share of that. Is that a good return on investment? The problem is that the prescriptions put forth by the radical left just have horrible cost versus benefit returns. And we're for reasonable regulations, we're for reasonable fuel emission standards and whatnot, but we're not for policies that will harm your pocketbook, harm our state economy for no benefit. It makes no sense.
Now, as you mentioned, this is now the comment period, having seen the draft MOU released this week, and it's for several months going into the middle of March 2020, talking about the governor being on board with this. But you said if it goes to the inaction phase, there could potentially be an option at the assembly or for the governor. And you said if the governor decides to take action, you think that there could be some legal action taken pertaining to that because it's does it fall under her authority of powers?
So the politics are going to be very interested, and make sure I tell viewers how they can weigh in on this before we're done. So the process was scheduled to have legislative approval. Come March, we think, there'll be a final plan put forth, and at that point, the states can take action on it, hopefully through the legislative process, through the duly elected representatives of the people. We don't know for sure that the governor won't try to do some kind of executive order saying, oh, this isn't really a tax and therefore it doesn't have to. We don't know for sure yet because the Speaker has come out pretty strong against this already of the House. The Senate President's been skeptical, but we're going to keep the pressure on. So we don't exactly know what the governor is planning to do. We wish she would say definitively this is absolutely going through the legislative process. But if she tries to go it alone, I think that would invite a lawsuit. because only the General Assembly has taxing authority in this state, and there's no way, I mean, you could argue this isn't a tax, but this is a tax on gasoline. It's not the same process they use for other taxes, but it is. So we hope we don't get into that. We hope the governor sticks to the plan and does go through the General Assembly. But we're going to keep pressuring lawmakers and try to get them on record to determine whether they're for this gas tax or not.
And as you mentioned, if folks are watching right now and interested to learn more, you've got a website for them. Yeah,
so there's two things you can do. Our homepage for this is rifreedom.org/no-TCI-tax. On that page right now is a link to a petition you can sign to say, no, I don't want to pay significantly more at the pump for no environmental benefit at all. And very shortly, we're going to have a link directly to the TCI website, because you mentioned this is a comment period, and they are accepting comments from the public on their website. You might think it's a good tax to have. Either way, on our website, you'll be able to link directly to their website, where you can put your comment on there. So again, rifreedom.org/no-TCI-tax.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time to come into downtown Providence here, tell folks about your position on this issue, provide them with some more information. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you again in the new year.
Well, we thank your listeners for tuning in, and thanks for
thank you,
as always, for the chance to talk.
And thank you for watching us here on GoLocal Live. I want to thank Ray Rickman for coming on earlier, giving his big view here in downtown Providence. We'll be back next week here in downtown for more GoLocal Live. But of course, in the meantime, follow us on GoLocalProv.com. Find us on Facebook, and we wish everyone a very happy and healthy weekend. I'm GoLocal News Editor.
God bless.